Planning Commission will come to order.
This is a low number.
If you are going to speak tonight and have it signed in, please sign in and we'll have Mr. Perkins swear you in shortly. We'll wait 1 second here and let Miss Singer get in here so we won't have to count her absent.
About that thing.
And Mr. Shirley contacted me earlier and said he probably would not be here. He is working at the school. All right, I hope you all have, the commission has looked over the September invoices. I will take a motion and a second for that approval.
I move we accept.
Moved by Mr. Dan Smith. Second. I have approval and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. And approval of the September minutes last month.
I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second for approval of last month's minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And approval of the October 12th agenda for tonight. Mr. Stone,
Second.
and second by Mr. Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Joe, we do have a withdrawal or postponement.
Yeah, we have a withdrawal and a new postponement. So the withdrawal is the Cherry Blossom Village Phase 2. It's not on the agenda.
All right.
It's totally withdrawn.
This one.
Before we put the agenda together, but online transport has been postponed to next month. And staff actually postponed that. We asked them to postpone because they were going to give us some information on improvements to the intersection at Devil Plain and Cherry Blossom and Sims Road there. And they got us some information, but it wasn't sufficient, so we want to go out and do a site visit and go over with them. So we're postponing for 1 month.
Okay, so if you are here to hear online transport that is at Old Delaplane Road and the bypass and Sims Road, if you're here to hear that, it is going to be postponed until next month. You don't have to wait around. All right, consent agenda. Joe, do we have anything that is eligible for consent?
Yes, there's one item, it's item B under new business, the Hunterfield property, FSP 2023-46.
Okay. So is there anyone here that would like to hear that information or is opposed to it for the Hunterfield property on Carrick Pike? All right. Then if that's eligible for consent, I will take a motion for approval.
Charlie, I make a motion to approve it. The 203-46, Hunterfield property.
I'll second.
Let's see. All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the Huntersville property. Well, I'll do a roll call. Ms. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Shirley's not here tonight. Mr. Jesse?
Yes.
Mr. Vest?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. If a representative is here, come see Mr. Perkins at the end of the desk here. And yeah, the gentleman in the yellow sweater and
And the pigtail, go ahead and say it.
I was gonna say white hair, but I fall into that category too. So.
One of those is ours, and one of those is yours. Very good. That's yours.
Yes, sir. All right, now we've got that out of the way, so we'll go to old business. PDP/PSP 2023-34, the villages at Georgetown.
Oh, swearing in. You want to go ahead and do that?
Yes, please. I've got it right here, and
All of you signed in to speak. If you could stand and raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the statement you're to make tonight to be the truth, to the best of your information and belief? Thank you.
All right, this is a request for preliminary development plan approval and preliminary subdivision plat approval for a project on the corner of Lemons Mill and the bypass. This project was previously approved in kind of a different form in 2020, but because of the sunset clause, which we adopted in 2015, which says preliminaries are valid for 2 years with a 1-year extension. This preliminary has expired and they have to come back. That's why you're seeing it today, come back and get it reapproved. It has changed a little bit since 2020, so there are some changes and I'll go through those. This project is approximately 21.695 acres and includes an area zoned R2, medium density residential, and an area zoned B2 highway commercial. The highway commercial area is at the corner of the intersection of Lemons Mill and the bypass. You can kind of see it partially outlined in red. The R2 section is the remainder of this narrow piece of land between Mansion Estates and East Main Estates and the bypass from Lemons Mill on the bottom of the screen to East Main extended on the top of the screen. This is the zoning. All of East Main and Mansion Estates are zoned R2. They are single family built out, but R2 allows single family and multifamily up to 12 units an acre. And you can see the area currently zoned B2 on the corner there. So this was the plan previously approved in 2020. It was duplex townhomes on a private street system. So you can see the street aligns with the intersection approximately, in the Anderson development where it hits Lemons Mill. So across from that is that intersection on the south side. On the north side, the intersection is just behind the church there on the corner. And then there was a little loop road that served those duplex townhomes at that end. And then the townhomes kind of lined the road system. These were private roads, or intended to be private at the time. So private roads are kind of within an easement, and the setbacks or the property line essentially, since it's an easement, doesn't have to be dedicated right away. I mean, it could be, I suppose. The setbacks, there's more room for setback for the buildings. You can see the commercial area is kind of elongated along the bypass. We actually have a zone change application that we got last month to amend the commercial area a little bit to align with this current plan that you're seeing tonight. So the new road doesn't kind of veer up to the left. It goes more straight, you'll see in a minute. So the commercial area is going to have to be rezoned. So this is the plan that we're reviewing tonight. It's a public street now instead of private. Because it's public, it needs minimum 50-foot right-of-way. It won't be maintained by the property owner. Eventually, it'll be dedicated to the public after it's constructed in sidewalks and it's finalized. It'll be dedicated to the city. So the intention isn't to keep it for private maintenance. But the units themselves are not intended to be subdivided. So they'll be kept under one ownership, and they'll be either be rented, or there could potentially be a condo scheme, but I believe they're just going to be rented. So you can see that the commercial area, it'll be 3 lots. And part of the review tonight is a review of the preliminary subdivision plat and the preliminary development plan. The preliminary development plan portion is for the residential area under one ownership. The preliminary subdivision plat is for these 3 commercial lots. So any residential development above a duplex requires a development plan. So that's why we're seeing a development plan for that area. If they were going to subdivide these townhomes into individual lots, we'd see a preliminary subdivision plat with them. So the intention, in my understanding, is just to keep it under one ownership. With the previous plan, there was a clubhouse on the south end near the lake. If you drove out there, you saw the pond, essentially. That pond will be regraded and shortened and filled in on that northern, or on the, would be the western part of the pond for the new road. So the road will actually be going in the area that pond is currently, the corner of where that pond is now. So we met at TRC and we talked through this development. Initially, those townhomes on the south end had their parking in front of the buildings in just a parking lot. No garages because of the grade, and that parking lot would just serve for parking for each unit. So they would park in the individual lot, kind of like the northern townhomes are. We thought it would be better, staff thought it would be better if the parking was in the rear, just because the townhomes, I think, are more, creates a more walkable environment, more human scale. If you're looking at the front of the townhomes and the porches in the front of the units, the windows, rather than just a surface parking lot. Also, the Legacy Trail extension goes through this area, so it goes through the Amerson development in a pedestrian easement. They're continuing the pedestrian easement for the Legacy Trail through this site as well. They're showing it to the north of the commercial lots, so it would go through Amerson, cross at the intersection at the light, and then continue along the west side of the commercial lots, and then cross the street and follow the south side. I may be getting that direction wrong. So the west and the east, rather. But it would cross the street and go on the right-hand side of the road all the way to East Main Extended. So because there's going to be pedestrian use of that easement, hopefully at some point in the future, we feel like that those townhomes would be better, closer to the street with the parking in the rear. In order to do that, they need a variance to that front setback. So they're asking for a reduction in the front setback from 25 feet to 15 feet just for those 7 townhome units on the left-hand side of the project. There are some wetlands or a big drainage feature that cuts across the site. It drains East Main Extension, or East Main Estates and Mansion Estates. They're piping it under the road. They will have to look at that and get with the Army Corps of Engineers. There might be some wetlands mitigation that they have to do on that, but that's for them, the Army Corps, to determine. The pond is being amended. You know, there are some low areas on the site, so there are some drainage challenges, but just because it drains all that residential area as it drains towards the bypass. So they'll have to incorporate all that into their design. But that's something that comes after the preliminary. So they'll have to meet all our stormwater regulations, submit a stormwater calculations and stormwater report, and our planning commission engineer will have to review that and approve that before we approve the final development plan. They are meeting all our parking requirements. All our landscape requirements can be met. The only other variance they need is along Mansion and East Main Estates. There's a buffer required because it's fourplexes are considered multifamily units, fourplex townhomes. So between multifamily and single family, they're required a buffer, and that's a 10-foot buffer with tree every 40 feet and a 6-foot high hedge, earth mound or fence, privacy fence. They're asking for a variance to the 6-foot high privacy fence, and they want to do landscaping, kind of heavier landscaping, and a 4-plank fence to define that edge. So that is the other variance they're asking for. Staff's in support of both variances. Kind of the details, this final landscape plan we'll see at the final. So we just have a preliminary landscape plan now, but it looks like they have all the area needed to meet the landscape requirements. As far as the commercial lots go, if any development comes in on those lots, I have a condition in the staff report that lot 2 and 3 need a zone change in order to be used commercially. And there is a zone change application that was submitted last month, and you can kind of see on the drawing that little light line that crosses lots 2 and 3. That was the previous road alignment. So that area is actually zoned residential, so those 2 lots cannot be developed until that zone change occurs. In lot 1 on the corner, we have a preliminary development plan already submitted for next month for a convenience store, gas station on that lot. So that is all commercial, so this preliminary will allow that development plan to go forward. In all these commercial lots, you will see, before they're developed, you will see a preliminary development plan on those lots. So those will still require a preliminary and final development plan before anything can happen on those lots.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the variances, are they on the staff report? I couldn't find them.
Here,
Oh, they're on this.
on the drawing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're on the drawing. In the staff report, I addressed the setback variance, the landscape variance along the fence line. I don't recall if I actually got it in the staff report or not. I noticed it after the staff report. We had talked about it, and after looking, double checking the drawing, I noticed it called out in the drawing. So it's, I added it to the conditions of approval that Charlie has, but I can't say for certain if it made it into the text of my staff report. So I guess the other issue that I need to cover is the previous approval had a traffic study. Since the traffic generation is over our threshold, it did show that there were road improvements needed on Lemons Mill Road. And what it showed is the left turn lane on Lemons Mill. If you go into as you're approaching the bypass, the left turn lane needs to be elongated to provide more stacking. There will be a through lane and then a right turn lane also, kind of elongated. And then there's a left turn required into the development, which there's not. So they'll have to do the widening that's shown in the shaded areas will be the responsibility of the developer to do. So those road improvements. So the traffic study showed that with those improvements, those should mitigate any impact from the development itself. So as far as conditions, we are recommending approval with the condition number 1, that the road improvements required to serve the development are the responsibility of the developer, the applicant. And then number 4 and number 6 are the two kind of additional conditions beyond what we normally put on our development plan conditions. Number 4 is that the Army Corps of Engineers look at the wetlands or make a determination as to whether there are wetlands on site and they meet all the federal requirements. And then condition number 6, that the commercial lots 2 and 3 cannot be developed until that zone change goes through, kind of fixing that zone irregularity on those 2 lots. So we are recommending approval with the 10 lots. And I put in a couple photos of townhomes similar to what are proposed on the site, just to show you the kind of attached 4-unit townhome building. I don't know if they'll be that tall because of the grades on the site, but the applicant asked me to put that in there, so they may be able to address it.
So Joe, at the meeting the other day, I just want to make sure, so this actually is a reduction in number of units versus the original proposal?
Yeah, it's a reduction 78 to 68, so reduction of 10 units. And then amendment from, they were duplex townhomes before, and now there's duplex townhomes. With duplex, I mean just two townhomes attached, but then there's some four-unit buildings as well. Previously, they were all 2-unit buildings, I believe.
Joe, you might have already said it, but are commercial lots 1, 2, and 3 by the same owner?
Yeah, they're all by the same owner, yeah. I think they'll be, marketed and leased to, different users, but anybody that utilizes or wants to go on any of those lots will have to submit a preliminary development plan. And they'll have to plat those lots first, so they'll have to get utilities to them and everything, build the road before they can actually plat those lots.
And they will have garages?
The units themselves, they will. I know the front 7 will have rear access garages. The others have surface parking, so I don't believe, but the applicant can answer. I think that on that loop road, I think those have garages, but I don't think all of them necessarily have garages, but I'll let him answer it.
Joe, could you go back to the first map? Just for clarification. No, I'm sorry, this first one.
Okay,
we got.
plan.
Where does the Legacy Trail come in
Well,
and go to?
it comes in, right now it comes through the Emerson property,
Right.
coming to the intersection.
That's it, that shaded area?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it crosses.
And then just goes down there and for the time being just stops at East
Yeah.
Main Street Extension?
Yeah.
Okay.
Since the schools are right here, I don't want there to be a flashing signal when it gets there and cross there.
Right.
They have to go back across.
Okay.
This is the church, so they don't own that property.
But the county doesn't have, do you know the plans for the Legacy Trail on?
Well, right now, there's just a feasibility study, a potential alignment in it. And that's subject to amendment, but right
Right.
now it runs down the bypass to Elkhorn and it goes under the bridge over the Elkhorn down there at the Kmart, or not Kmart anymore. Big Lots, by Big Lots.
Big Lots.
And then it goes under there and follows the creek. The problem is getting over Main Street or Harris right there at that bridge, so there's gonna have to be something done
Okay.
there.
All
But
right.
then it follows the creek all the way around to Cardone.
Okay.
And was there like conversations with the church, or they get notification about this development?
They did get notification. I haven't talked to anybody at the church.
Well, they would have reached back out if they had.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any Does staff have any questions for Joe? Just 1 second, Will.
I have just a quick question. Sorry, I was about 5 minutes late.
We'll need you to sign in and get sworn in, and we generally have the owners make their presentation first, and it may answer your question.
Okay. Again, I apologize for my tardiness. but
Not a problem.
I still have to work at my age.
But
So,
if you just tell me your name and I'll swear you in.
okay, I'm Linda Cook. I
Okay.
live at 123 Santa Barbara, which is the property adjacent to this development.
And do you swear or affirm what you're about to say to be, well, when you say it, whenever that is, to be the truth, the best of your information and belief?
Oh, yes.
Linda Cook?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
And my question's simple. I'm just wondering what might be behind my fence. I don't know if there's 123 Santa Barbara that shows up there.
Look it up. Is it,
It's before,
Mansion
yeah, Mansion Estates. It's before that little roundabout farther down Santa Barbara.
Well,
Okay.
the townhomes will likely be, you probably won't see them if you're over here, but.
That's my area, yes.
Where's the, you know where the road is?
She's across from, no, she's not, she's on the other side.
Here.
That one.
So you're right here, so there'll be, a landscape buffer, and then there'll be the townhomes back.
Because I know once upon a time, Matt Welsh was talking about assisted living facilities. Is that kind of gone by the wayside?
Yes.
Yeah.
Darn, I thought I could rent a unit or something. And one silly question, I'm sure you know this already, but are you aware of how much rock is back there? Because I was there 20 years ago, I moved into my house, and the first dump truck came with all this rock, and it grew and grew and grew. Thankfully, some vegetation has covered that up, but I mean, it is rocky.
Yeah, all the fill, all the
Yes.
fill tops, yeah.
Okay, you know what you're doing
They'll have-
then.
Yes, they'll
Okay.
have to do engineering.
When the dynamite goes off, my house will still be stationary. Is that correct?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know how you could build anything without doing some dynamiting.
All right. Linda, if you'll have a seat, and the owners will make their presentation and may answer some more of your questions for you.
Good evening. My name's Steve Baker. I'm with Midwest Engineering and civil engineer on the project. Also have the developers, Matt Welch and David Lusby, are with me tonight. If they have any, if you have questions that I can answer, I'm sure they can help. Joe did a great job, I guess, of explaining the history of the project and the multiple iterations we've gone through. I wanted to just kind of go into a little bit more detail on a couple of items, kind of explain why this plan has evolved from the original plan. Couple reasons is our clients wanted to create a plan that allowed us to dedicate right-of-way instead of maintaining private streets. So that obviously took away some real estate and had to reevaluate how we can, develop the property. The other issue that, two other issues, I guess. One is the highway department. Lemons Mill Road is, as you know, a state route. And so in working with them with developing designs for the Lemons Mill Road upgrades, the turn lane and the things that Joe mentioned, one of the things they really wanted to see is that our new street line up directly across from the other street that intersects with Lemons Mill now behind the Shell station that's there. So we've done that. In doing so, that required us to shift the street, which shifts the boundary of the B2 zone, which requires, that's why we have a zone change that's going to be coming behind this plan. So just want to give you a little bit of background of why we've tried to improve this and satisfy the needs of the highway department as well as your regulations. The legacy trail is another thing that we've tried to make sure we see the big picture of when and if that ultimately gets constructed. And so it's our understanding that the property to the south of our property, so the south side of the intersection of Lemons Mill and McClellan, the easement for that property is along the right-of-way. So this plan actually aligns with that. So rather than having it, offset 200 feet and figuring out a way to connect those, we just went ahead and moved it back so that when that plan does come to fruition, it will line up. So that's why the trail is in a different location, and we've kind of had to adjust everything else to try to balance those. The garages, the question somebody asked about which units would have garages. All of the fourplex units on the south side of the project, so the 7 on the south end, will have garages, kind of a basement, the lower floor will be kind of a basement walkout, and the garages will be there. And then the duplexes on the very northern side of the project will have garages. And then the fourplex units there on the, I guess there's 6 other units that will not have garages. So we've tried to include that wherever we could. I think that covers everything. The one other thing I was going to explain, the reason that the client is requesting a waiver or a variance on the fence requirement rather than having just a standard privacy fence is just for aesthetics and to kind of match the theme that they're planning on working with the fourplex units. That they'd rather spend more money on landscaping and improve that and then go with a fence that kind of matches their theme. So with that, I'll be glad to try to answer any questions. Haven't been addressed yet.
It's been brought up, but I'm sure it's not going to be an issue. All the requirements from the government about the flood water, the runoff water, and all that. So
we've had preliminary conversations with Division of Water, which will ultimately lead to the Corps of Engineers. I think there is a path forward there. It's just a matter of working through their process, and we didn't want to get too far down that road before we knew that this plan would be okay with you all. Now, once we have an alignment that we can work with, we'll proceed down that path.
Thank you.
One other note on the Highway Department coordination, the improvements that are shown on this plan have been reviewed by the Highway Department preliminarily, and they're good with what we have shown as far as the Lemons Mill improvements. Obviously, they'll need more detailed plans to ultimately approve them, but we've been working with them to make sure what we design and the right way that we allocate for them will work for ultimately when this thing goes to construction. So they've been part of the conversation as well.
You can assure Ms. Cook that her house will remain stationary even with the blasting?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't anticipate any blasting because most of this is, that rock has been, it's a fill site, so I think the excavators will be able to move it.
Huge boulders.
So is East Main Street, is that a county or city street?
It's a city street.
Okay.
And so we'll be connecting there, and then there is a section of sidewalk that we'll be building along East Main extended to the property line as part of this as well. So,
Any other questions for Mr. Baker? Any of the anyone in the audience have any questions about this project?
Okay, I make a motion that we accept this as is with the exceptions that they.
I'll second.
PDP PSP-203-34.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Ms. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Vest,
Yes.
Mr. Stone,
Yes.
Mr. Garrett,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. You'll come up here and see Mr. Perkins. You can get your paperwork done. All right, the next item of business is FSP 2023-45, the Muse property, final subdivision plat to create a 5-acre tract and leave 12.534 acres in the parent tract located at 1158 Crumball Road.
All right, this is a preliminary subdivision plat for a lot on Crumbaugh Road. And again, this is a project that was previously approved, but expired due to the sunset clause. So this was approved in 2017, and it just never got recorded. And since it expired, it couldn't be recorded until it came back to the board. So it's a 17.53 4-acre tract with a bunch of buildings and homes that are, most of them, well, a couple of them are lawfully non-conforming. It has a conditional use permit for a business on a portion of the site, so that the applicant's reason for subdividing is just to separate the business portion of the lot from the residential portion. So they're creating a 5-acre lot around the house. And this is an image just of the house that looks flattened there in the center of the site, but there's a driveway and the house is on to the left of the driveway there. There's a greenhouse behind the building, and then there's a couple there's a barn in the back, and there's a driveway going back to the farm. So in order to create the 5-acre lot, the only place to put the lot line really and separate the residential and create a 5-acre lot and keep the commercial kind of separate and work around the driveway and the buildings is to put it in a place that requires a variance for the 2 of the existing structures. So you can see the black line is the subdivision line. That square in the corner where the line kind of makes a 90-degree there is a greenhouse. So the line has to go 2 foot from that greenhouse and 30 feet from the house in order to create that lot. So there are 2 variances associated with this. Both those variances were previously approved, but you have to approve them again since that previous approval sunsetted. The 5-acre lot meets all our requirements for lots in the A1, 250 foot of width, 50 foot setbacks. The only discrepancy or variable is these variances required, just because there's already structures built on the lot, and anywhere you put that line really is going to require a variance. So we recommended approval before. We're recommending approval again with those 2 variances.
You may have said this, are there any differences from what was approved in 2017?
No differences. So it's the same. It's basically the same plat, the same application. They're just taking it through so they can get it recorded. And just the 2 variances, and then just standard requirements. They'll have to get health department sign off and all the normal sign offs. No new driveways. So all existing driveways.
It's probably just a minor detail. You said that building right in the corner of the property line is a greenhouse, and on our plats it shows a multi-use building.
Oh, this one? I was talking about that one. It looked like a greenhouse.
No.
That's the one. But it's not.
It's a barn.
No.
All right.
I didn't want to go on the property.
Okay.
It's a half barn, right? What do they call it? It's half of a barn. It's like
Mini barn.
A Quonset type.
yes, that's what it is. Yes.
Right.
World War I or World War II.
I saw it today.
Okay.
About that way.
Any other questions for Joe?
Nice street.
I'll make a motion that we accept it.
Do we,
There's no other
is
question.
there any questions from the audience? Opposition, anything? All right, now I'll take your,
FSP-203-23-45.
Second.
who's that, Mr. Stone? Or Mr. Smith? I have a motion and a second. Ms. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Jesse?
Yes.
Mr. Vest?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. if you'll come up here and see Charlie.
As soon as you sign that, you can go. Take the second page with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And the next item, Locust Fork Townhome Zone Change, is a public hearing. And so I will open the public hearing at this time.
All right, this is a zone change request in the city of Stamping Ground on Locust Fork.
Excuse me 1 second. Just for the record, I represent Mr. Haddix in a contract enforcement matter. It's got nothing to do with P&Z. It certainly has nothing to do with this application, but I want that on the record. Excuse me.
All right. This is a zone change request in the city of Stamping Ground on Locust Fork Road. This property is currently, it's 3 lots, 126, 130, and 136. The application is to rezone 2 of the lots, the 126 and 130, and leave the lot at 136 as it is, zoned R1B, and to build a single-family house on that lot. The other 2 lots, the plan is to consolidate them and rezone it to R2 for a 4-unit townhome building, so 4 attached townhome units on 0.81 acres. So the 0.81 is just those 2 lots. So together it's a little over an acre for the whole thing. So this is on Locust Fork Road at the kind of at the end of Mulberry. The lots are kind of that lighter green area. There's a tree line on the left. You know, there's some trees kind of scattered on the lot, and there's floodplain in the rear of the lot. So the request is to zone to R2, but also to rezone the floodplain area C1 conservation. Our comprehensive plan requires anytime you go through a zone change, if there's floodplain on the property, you rezone that C1, and then that's not counted towards developable area because you can't touch that area. So this is Locust Fork looking kind of I guess northerly. The property is on the left. You can see where Mulberry is kind of hitting the site there. There is a house and a lot on the left-hand side. So I think the address might be 120, but just to the left there is a lot with the house, existing house. That house is approximately, I measured this off our Google Earth measuring tool. It's approximately 48 feet from the property line, and then the townhomes are going to be 18 feet, set back 18 feet from the property line. So the townhomes will be a good distance from the existing house, and there'll be a buffer required in between the two. Unfortunately, I didn't know. It must have gotten hidden. We did get a concept plan. It's not, oh, wait a minute, maybe it's next. Okay, never mind, maybe it's there. Get ahead of myself. So anytime we get a zone change request, we look at, is it in compliance with the existing comprehensive plan? If it is, that's as far as we need to go for justification. If it's not, we need to look at, have there been significant changes in the area socially, physically, that would justify the change, and those changes couldn't have been already considered when we updated the last conference plan, or is just the zoning incorrect due to some error that needs to be corrected. So this area, this is a Stamping Ground future land use map from the last comprehensive plan. So this area in yellow is all residential. So it's all planned urban residential, which means that the existing zone is in compliance with the comprehensive plan and the requested zone is in compliance with the comprehensive plan. So this is a residential zone. So we need to look at some of the nuance of the context to make our recommendation. Stamping Ground in general needs more housing. So there's a need for housing. There's a need for workforce housing. in the county at large. This is an area that has 3 lots already that could be built on. So the increase to 5 is not a significant alteration. There are buffers proposed on the concept plan. Anytime you go to a multifamily fourplex, it requires, like the last plan, a 10-foot buffer with a 6-foot high privacy fence or hedge and a tree every 40 feet. So on each side of the townhome lot will be a buffer required. So I guess to review kind of our, the basis for our recommendation, the zone change is in general compliance of the residential zone. They are rezoning the floodplain conservation, which also is in compliance with the comprehensive plan. It follows our guidelines for rezonings. We will require a development plan. If this zone change is approved, it's not, they can't go build it right away. We will need to see a development plan, and that development plan will have to come back to the Planning Commission for approval. And the other, I guess, aspect is that this is a recommendation from the Planning Commission. The City of Stamping Ground will make the ultimate decision. So you are just making a recommendation to Stamping Ground. They will have to look at the context. Are townhomes appropriate in this area? Did they have some issue with, a more intense type of residential development in this particular area? Our plans, I think, would justify the increase just because of the need for housing. And that's, I guess, our last finding is that there are additional housing units needed, not only in the county at large, but in Stamping Ground as well. And then fire protection, all utilities are available in this area to the site. So we are recommending approval of the application with the 2 conditions. One, it returns to the Planning Commission if approved by Stamping Ground for development plan approval, and that development plan meet all our zoning and subdivision regulations. And I'm sorry I don't have the concept plan on the PowerPoint. I had an issue with slides getting hidden. I think I hid that one maybe. Anyway, you do have it in the packet, and if anybody here wants to see it, I have it. I have it here in my staff report. And that's all I had, so I'm open to any questions.
Joe, I've got one. Kind of in a meeting Monday, did we hear something about backing onto the street, or is that?
Yes, the concept plan we have shows the townhomes with parking in the front. I mean, you have this in your staff report, and it shows paving all the way, those parking areas right up to the edge of the road. So there, although there is a turnaround area, those vehicles could back up right into the road. So we're not approving this plan at this point. So I would say the concept plan shows the number of units, but we will review that, the parking and the turnaround when we review the development plan if it gets to that stage. But we don't ever like to see cars backing directly out onto a city street, especially if it's a busy street without good sight distance. So
I'm assuming you've already shared that with the developer and understands on that.
yeah, yes.
And Joe, there's enough room behind the townhouses to the setback line. They could move those back some and create a little bit more room to turn around out front before they have, in lieu of backing out onto the street.
Yeah.
Okay.
They could also put in a defined kind of driveway entrance rather than paving that whole area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smart.
All right. Either or there.
And if we approve this, and obviously, like I said, it's nothing to do with this plan, what else could go there under this zone change?
It's 0.81, so the R2 zone allows 12 units an acre. It's 0.81 acres, but has floodplain that's going to be removed.
Yeah.
So
I think 4's the maximum, but we could, I don't know the exact acreage of the floodplain, so
Half
it's
acre.
maybe 5 potentially, but I don't think there's room on the lot really, but.
And that would be up to George, we're just making a recommendation anyway, right? 'Cause
Right,
staffing is
right.
gonna be the one thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Does Mr. Haddix or his representative have anything?
Can I ask the question?
Yes, ma'am. Let-
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, you need me
Yes, ma'am, you need to, if you have a question, why don't we let Mr. Haddix go, and then he may answer your question.
or be sworn in?
Oh, you swear or affirm the statement you're about to make to be the truth to the best of your information and belief?
I do. Good evening.
Evening, Paul.
I'm Paul Haddix. I'm the owner and developer of this project. Here to answer any questions you may have.
You heard Joe's concern about the backing out into the street, which I think is a legitimate concern, and so you feel like you can alleviate that?
I feel
the
we
design?
can, in some way.
Okay.
I want everyone to be happy.
Yeah.
I mean, we have homes
Safe.
in that road that's backing out the street now, you know, but I know this project is a little more dense than the homes.
Than
So
a single family.
I'm here to, and the engineer to put out a good product, safe product, you know, for people to live there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you talked to any of the neighbors?
I have not. I have not. It's a real nice product. It's a product I built in Canewood, there by the gas station, is the product, that townhome product I built there behind Marathon.
Yeah.
So that's a product I'm gonna offer. It's a real nice product. So I think it'll fit well there, and add housing as well.
All right, any other questions for Paul?
How
Thank
about
you,
this-
sir, and I'm sure this young lady has a question for you.
How about the city?
If you would come up here and state your name
I
and,
think Harold has a quick question.
oh,
How about
okay.
the city of Stamping Ground themselves? Have they, like, have they?
Paul, have you talked with Sadieville representative?
Stamping Ground.
Or Stamping Ground?
The city,
Here's one of their folks right
A representative from my office has.
Yeah, okay.
and what did
And
they
it
show?
seemed to be, they were, you know, you know, were willing to approve. They liked the concept plan.
Okay.
I am Joan Norris, and I am previously Joan Talbert, so that was my family's property. Just a couple of questions that I had. The buffer between the properties, what will that consist of? It says a buffer would be.
Yeah, we haven't got that far in the development stage. We know we have to comply with that type of development, so.
Okay.
Yeah, the buffer requirement is a 6-foot-high fence or
Mhm.
hedge and a tree every 40 feet.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to clear that up. And your side setback for, I'm looking at the Talbot property, and I think one part of this says it would be a 25-foot for a multi-family, and I'm just trying to figure out, I wasn't for sure what you showed on the side setback.
Where's the Talbot property on, if you look
At
behind you?
120?
Go ahead.
Okay.
It'll be to the left of this
To the left
property.
Be 18 foot from the house, according to this, in the
Okay.
first building.
Okay, but for your multifamily, should it be 25? According to your,
Is that a variance, Joe?
Yeah.
We're gonna need to ask for a.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
variance.
okay, okay.
So we're not at the, we're not.
So it would have to be a
at the
variance to reduce that to 18?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you all provide on a multi-unit, would it be ADA accommodations,
That'll be in.
like for the parking? Are you
All that will
required?
be in a development plan, won't it, Joe? Yeah, that'll be on a later date.
Yeah, I mean, any public, if it was commercial or any public parking lots would have to be ADA, but, that's a building code
Mhm.
issue.
Mhm.
I don't
I didn't know if you'd have to have any parking for it.
No.
Not for private residents.
And then no change in that flood zone that's already,
Correct, yeah, they can't touch that floodplain back there.
uh-huh. And where are, and I couldn't see it, but it may be here, but that's because my eyes don't let me, your fire hydrant or protection there for that property, where would that be?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were very close. They were within like 300 feet, and they can be within 800 feet. So there was 2 fire hydrants that would service that area. So the preliminary meeting we had, the fire marshal had no concerns at all. He was happy that
So they're
existing
existing.
fire hydrants were there to
Okay,
service it.
okay. Just, these are just questions that popped in my head, so I have to ask them while
No,
I'm
that's why we're doing
thinking.
this.
I think there was one other question that I had. When you all are doing your construction, and I know that's a small area, and I guess I'm thinking, how does that affect the property on both sides? Because that's a lot of building in an area that's been just grown up.
Well, we would build it all at once, so it'd be like pulling a Band-Aid off, you know? It's gonna be noisy on the front side, but it should be quick.
I guess I'm thinking trucks and
Yeah. well,
clearing and that
yeah.
sort. How does that affect the home that's existing there?
Well, it shouldn't impact it, you know, the only time it should impact is where we had the dynamite rock. So the concrete trucks, the lumber trucks should not impact what's there now.
I guess I think Locust Fork is not a very wide road.
Yeah, well, those trucks will, the townhomes aren't built right on the road, so they're offset. And so the trucks certainly would be enough room to pull off the main road to.
It'll be a
deliver.
30-foot setback? Is that what the,
Yes.
okay, without the parking?
Yes.
Okay, I think those
So
were the
there
questions.
there will be plenty of room for big trucks to pull off.
Okay, I think that was my questions. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Norris. Any other questions for Paul?
I've got one for Rob Jones.
Okay, yeah, he wasn't here. was he? Do you swear or affirm what you're saying is worth listening to?
We'll say it anyway. Rob Jones. I live at 132 Mulberry, so I live on Mulberry. So I've seen a lot go on in this area in a short period of time. Well, been there 28 years, so it ain't that short, is it? So this lot, I talked to Paul about it, I don't know, a year or so ago, about what he could do there, and I thought, well, townhomes or something. But the more I've studied that lot, I don't agree with it. And I'm sorry, Paul, I just don't agree with it at this point in time. And the reason being, Locust Fork is heavily traveled every day. There are a lot of houses out Locust Fork, and they come into town that way right there. If they don't go down Locust Fork, they cut on Mulberry. The traffic is pretty heavy on that road already, and it's 18.5 feet wide. 2 cars go down right through there, they gotta go slow, because they will bump mirrors. I've seen it happen. My other concern is that lot, I don't know how many of y'all have seen that lot, but from the road, it goes straight down to the floodplain. Paul's good about building on those kind of, I couldn't tell you how, it'd be amazing to see it built, but to me, I just don't see why we need that zone change. For one, I don't know how many units are gonna be built on it. That would be my first, that'd be my first concern, is how many is actually gonna get built.
5. There's a total of 5, and legally, without doing any of this, I could do 3.
Yeah.
So I'm only adding 2 more.
Yeah, and you do a great job on all your products. I don't have a problem with Paul building there. It's just, I just don't wanna put too much on Locust Fork. And once you do a zone change, he might change his mind, decide to go 10 units on that.
Oh, he couldn't do 10
So,
units.
I know I heard it.
No.
So he could go up to 7 units on there. So that's why I say, I mean, I'm kind of against the zone change right there, because that is a rural area. We need the units in Stamping Ground. I appreciate Paul coming down there trying to help us out, but I just don't feel like that's the right spot for it. So that's my opinion. Appreciate you guys up there, all right? Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Well, like I say, we haven't went through the development part of this project yet. We somewhat have to define enough that we want to build 4 at once. And we know we her suggestion from planning and zoning that we need to address the coming, you know, the driveways and coming up to the main road, and we will do so. So I still think, I mean, just keep in mind, it's not high density. I'm only adding 2 more homes, 2 more cars that would, you know, would deal with on that road versus what I could build without going through any of this. And so I'd really like to ask, you know, your approval of this project tonight if possible.
And what we're doing would be to recommend or not recommend to State Ground, right? And they ultimately approve or not.
Right, right. The only difference is if you recommend denial, it takes unanimous, not unanimous, it takes the majority of the whole to overrule the planning commission recommendation. So either way, to overrule what your recommendation is, takes the majority of the whole of the commission.
Does it normally take the majority of the?
If you, well, I'll hand over to Charlie. No, it doesn't if they're going along with your recommendation.
Got it.
So
Okay.
only if they're overruling the
Okay.
recommendation.
And sir, how many units, again, I'm sorry, I lost that. Could you put on it if we were not to approve this? How many could you do?
3.
3 instead of the 5?
Instead of that.
But that necessarily wouldn't be townhomes, then it would be
That would
just
be
homes?
single-family, standalone.
Single-family homes.
I'm sorry, can I ask another question?
You certainly may.
Does Ground have a set foot allotment for homes, like how many square feet to build a home? It doesn't have a
No.
requirement?
No, Georgetown and Scott County don't either. So we can't dictate the size of your home. other
Well, not the
than
size of the
building
home, but the
code.
lot.
No lot, no.
The square footage of the lot.
7,500 square
Okay,
foot.
okay.
Well, Joe, I thought the city of Georgetown did have a square footage requirement for single-family homes.
For the lot, not
For
for
the
the
lot,
homes.
for not.
Not for the actual home size?
Yes, yeah.
So if I wanted to build a 500 square foot home, as long as it was on the right size lot, it would pass? Huh?
The
Or
market kind of
smaller?
drives it,
Okay.
right? I mean, ultimately, the market drives.
Well, that's
people
good to
buy,
know.
Right? What they build.
I always thought it was a minimum of 500 square feet or more in the city of Georgetown.
Well, I mean, I think building codes set some minimum sizes for bedrooms and, you know, occupancy, but they also have a tiny home section of building codes that you can build.
I don't know what we're missing.
I missed Carol's question on that. You talked right
Well,
on.
he asked if there was a minimum house size, and there's not, other than the building code sets minimum standards for bedrooms, have a bit of habitable spaces. But there's also a tiny home section that the building code just adopted, you know, state building code. So there's, if you're building a tiny home, it allows flexibility to go real small.
And currently, the lot size for Stanford Ground is.
75,
Okay, I just want to- but for a multi-family unit, does that
Yeah, and
change?
that's all you have, there's no town.
No, not the lot size.
The what?
There's
The-
no
For multifamily, you're allowed an R2 12 units per acre. But the
It's not
minimum
a-
lot size would be
I would say from the
7,500 square
affordable
feet.
housing
But,
aspect.
I mean, you're allowed,
Be more than
you're allowed the number of
No, I'm
units,
thinking affordable housing.
depending on how big the lot is. So you have to make the lot bigger to get more units.
Well, most people
Okay.
that wanna move to Stanford, I wanna be out of the country anyway, so they want
And
their.
part of that lot,
But he built a lot, he did, is that?
part of that lot on the other side is yours
They
as
won't
well.
get you.
What?
You only
They
use
just don't
81
want to say
of
they
the
won't get
acre,
you,
so
but
there's
that's down
how much in
south.
that other
No,
side?
I'm talking about you being a single family home.
Typical lot size. It was, I don't know, can't remember what that one is. But it's typical lot, you know, for a typical single family.
It's, yeah, it's actually a little bit bigger.
You looked at the ball homes recently?
Oh, 7,500 single family, oh, is that just?
I'm
state?
amazed every day when I
I
see
say a
it.
whole lot about that, but
What?
I could say a whole lot about
Can you
that.
say that again? I'm
Okay, you've got 8,100 of an acre, and you have a home on one lot and a fourplex on the other lot. Is that what I'm understanding?
The 8,100 of an acre is just for the townhomes.
Just for the townhomes, and then the other section will be a single-family dwelling.
That's correct.
It's roughly like, 0.37 acre, 3/7 of an acre, so a third of an acre.
For the single-family home?
Which is same size or bigger than you find in Georgetown.
Probably a little bit bigger. than that, too.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Haddix, appreciate it. Well, there's been some discussion on the commission up here that I would like to get put out so that people can hear. For and against here, and so we just need to express those things so that it's on the record.
My point was that I know you compared it to comprehensive plan, right? And in reviewing whether or not that there had been any change since the comprehensive plan and whether or not it was needed, you mentioned the workforce housing, which I interpreted as affordable housing, right? Housing that workforce moving into Scott County could afford. My assumption was that the townhomes, from an affordable housing standpoint, would fill a niche that a single-family home wouldn't. That's just my assumption, that typically a townhome is cheaper than a single-family home, but obviously I don't know the price point of these townhomes, but just looking at them, it seems like it would be cheaper. That was my only comment.
And my point was, I agree with Rob. I don't think we need townhomes on Locust Fork Road. Everything around that's residential. It's been that way for years. Not where this is at. I disagree.
I don't think just because it's always been residential is a valid reason for not doing it. I think the
might be
road,
right.
the road
You might be right.
capacity.
But I'm taking all that in consideration.
Yeah, I understand.
And when you're in Stamping Ground, that's a congested area right there. Where Rob lives and you come out on a Locust Fork, you're looking right at that. And then you got the church right off to the left of that. If you're facing the property off of Mulberry, that's a congested area. That's what I'm trying to get across is, with all the residential around it, I think it needs to stay like it is and build residential homes like it
be
is.
creating a hazard.
Me personally, yes, that's what I think.
I would agree if it was higher density, adding 2 more units is pretty minimal. In my opinion, different opinion.
We can agree to disagree.
That's right, we do all the time.
Yeah. And nothing against Mr. Haddix.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what that lot looks like. I was out there this week, and as you drive down Mulberry to Locust Fork, it's grown up
Well, that's
6 or 8 feet, and so it's hard to tell what the lay of the land really looks
that
like.
property used to have a single wide trailer on it, an older house, and something else, wasn't it, Rob? Wasn't there another one on there? Yeah, the house and the trailer, because Sam Ward owned that, and tore all that down, and then that's when Sam sold it off. But it's always had those residential places there, just not the townhome deal.
Well, are you ready for a recommendation? Vote on this thing?
Yeah, if nobody else wants to discuss it there, we'll take a recommendation.
I recommend to deny the request.
I say.
All right.
We need to state on the record, though, what your reason is. Because A, B, or C.
Oh, well, we said about the traffic and the safety.
Well, that's all you do. You gotta
Okay.
just state that on the record.
Due to the safety and traffic considerations, denying ZMA-2023-47.
All right. We have a recommendation by Mr. Jesse and a second by Mr. Vest to deny this application before the commission. Mr. Jesse?
Yes.
by voting yes, you're voting
To
to
deny.
approve your
To deny.
recommendation to deny.
Right.
Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Vest?
Yes.
Ms. Singer?
No.
Mr. Shirley's not here. Mr. Stone?
No.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
And the chair is going to vote no. And so we have 5-3 that carries. All right. Oh, Mr. Perkins, was I supposed to come out of public hearing?
I don't
before we
think that
voted?
makes any difference.
Okay.
You might want to close the hearing now, though.
Yeah.
We don't
So
want to
I-
take it home with us.
Yeah, I'm going to now close the public hearing. And that concludes all the business for tonight.
Motion to adjourn?
So be it.
Miss Singer, please.
We are adjourned.
500 is not even
Thank you.
plug in some square footage. Property by 7,500 is less than 5 property.
Yeah. 43.